My current position is as a senior transportation planner and project manager for OC Global, a Japanese civil engineering firm based in Tokyo, Japan. I started my planning career with a small firm in Philadelphia, working in environmental justice. This was shortly after graduating with a BA in architecture from the University of Pennsylvania. That was a one-year contract, after which I worked for a larger architecture and master planning firm, still in Philadelphia. And then I went on vacation to San Diego. And having spent my later childhood in the Northeast US, I thought to myself, I could get used to San Diego. I could live here. And I suppose that because my family moved around when I was growing up, I didn't think it was that big a deal to relocate. And if things didn't work out, I could always move back. And my family supported me. So I was quite fortunate to then land a job with a civil engineering firm in San Diego, where I worked for a year and a half. And then I transitioned from land use master planning to transportation planning with Caltrans. That's the California Department of Transportation. And though I had no specific transportation experience at the time, I was encouraged to apply for that entry-level position through a chance encounter at a friend's birthday party. So that illustrates the importance of networking and the unlikeliness of where networking can take place. And I worked for Caltrans for 8 years, 6 of those years in San Diego and 2 in Oakland, while I attended UC Berkeley for their Master's in City Planning program. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity to be able to work and do graduate studies at the same time. Then I went to the private sector again, working on active mobility. That's walking and bicycling projects throughout California and Nevada. But throughout all this, I've always wanted to work abroad in international development for some time. I applied here and there, but nothing came of it. My family's from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and the latter of which is where I spent my earlier childhood. I got to travel to Germany during high school, and later on also throughout South America and Europe. So one place that had always fascinated me and for which the experience traveling there was amazing was Japan. And I took some extended time off in 2017 and took a plunge to try to work in Japan, and another chance encounter led to my current job. So I like to credit the video game SimCity, which allows you to create your own city, complete with zoning, utilities, roads, public transit even, and social services. However, I did not know that planning was a profession, was a thing you could do as a career back in high school. The closest profession I thought at the time was architecture, so I wanted to be an architect initially. And that was my chosen major at Penn. And while I struggled with the architecture studio courses, to be honest, I was fortunate enough to also take some graduate courses in planning while at Penn, and I did quite well. Alas, I graduated majoring in architecture, and I had to do the transition to planning during my career. Wanting to become a planner was then reinforced during my architectural internship. In that job, I had to comply or help the company comply with historic preservation regulations, which made me curious. Who came up with the zoning regulations and how are these regulations enforced? And finally, once I got into planning, I was just awestruck at how multidisciplinary planning is. And while you can still be a specialist within planning, I much prefer to be more of a generalist within transportation planning. For hard skills, an understanding of GIS as well as statistics, I believe is quite beneficial. but also the Microsoft Office suite. That's an obvious skill to obtain, but I think Excel and PowerPoint, they can do some advanced data analysis and some engaging presentations respectively. And there's a lot of things you can do with that, with a software that people don't use in their day-to-day. So I would advise to try to become an advanced user of Office Suite. Having said that, soft skills are also important. I would put under soft skills public speaking and negotiation and collaboration. So for public speaking, I myself did Toastmasters, but it's not necessarily an endorsement. I think what's important is to just find a way that you can practice and to get feedback from your peers. And storytelling is another soft skill, both in writing and verbally. This way you can explain yourself to different audiences, as you often have to do in planning. And then I mentioned collaboration and being able to work with others from different backgrounds. Just yesterday, in my current job, I was fortunate enough to be in a project meeting, and the colleagues that were in the meeting, they represented Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, and Egypt. And we were all talking about a project in Maldives. So being able to work with different cultures is important. So my experience has taught me that hard skill proficiency can get you the job, and then soft skills can help you excel at your job. So my advice is to network. So that's the location for planning. I would say attend as many conferences and seminars and webinars as you can, and just meet people. Networking can have a negative connotation, but it doesn't have to be a chore. I think the key for me when meeting one's peers is to simply be open-minded and to not set your expectation to expect an immediate result. Because of course you will be disappointed if you go to an event and you don't immediately get offered your dream job right away. But planning, like most other professions, can be a small world. And some of the positions that I have held has been because I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone that was looking for my skill set. So that would be my advice. My hope is for planning to be more collaborative and participatory, for which great strides have already been made. However, there has also been some backlash, and some would say a lack of civility. And I see that as a reaction to a lack of trust with certain stakeholders. And that can be the government, or it can be the private real estate developer. So to combat this lack of trust as planning practitioners, I think that being empathetic can go a long way. Some people just simply want to be acknowledged. They want to be heard, and they do not want to be disenfranchised. And I truly believe that planning can help address and mitigate many of today's injustices, including the global housing crisis, and as well as access to clean water in other parts of the world. So we just have to continue working with people and be collaborative and allow them to participate. To me, urban planning means being part of creating a livable city for everyone. And that means providing more choices for housing, more choices for transportation, while also protecting the environment and ensuring that the economy benefits everyone.